A 74-year-old man sat in my office, his hands trembling, not from disease, but from something far more common and far more silent. He looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't know. I was hurting myself." For years, he'd done what millions of men do in private without ever realizing the quiet damage it was doing. And he's not alone. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a urologist and men's health specialist with over 3 decades of experience helping older men protect their vitality, intimacy, and dignity. And I'm here to tell you what most doctors won't. After 60, masturbation changes. And if you don't adapt, it can quietly affect your body, your mind, and even your manhood. You've been told it's natural, harmless, even healthy. But what if I told you that how you do it matters more than you think? In this video, I'll share 5 critical masturbation secrets that older men wish they'd known sooner. Truths that could preserve your circulation, protect your prostate, and even reignite your confidence. And stay with me until the end because the final secret could change the way you age, connect, and live for years to come. This conversation might be overdue, but it's not too late. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another honest, age-specific health tip made just for men like you. And if this topic speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. If it doesn't, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. Let's begin by uncovering the first truth, a secret that's quietly reshaped the lives of many older men once they finally understood it. Secret 1. Your erection is no longer the whole story, and that's okay. I remember the moment an older gentleman, 72 years old, looked at me with a mixture of frustration and shame and said, "Doc, I can't do what I used to do. Does that mean I'm no longer a man?" That question broke my heart because it's a belief I hear from so many men who walk into my office quietly panicking about a change they were never prepared for. They notice things aren't as firm, as fast, or as reliable as they once were. And, sadly, most of them assume it's the end of their sexuality altogether. But here's the truth. I wish every man over 60 had learned earlier. Your erection is no longer the whole story. And that's not failure. That's evolution. You see, as we age, our bodies naturally shift. Blood flow slows, hormone levels fluctuate, and nerves take their time. What once seemed automatic now requires patience and intention. But this doesn't mean your sexuality is broken. In fact, it can become more meaningful than ever. Once you stop measuring it by hardness alone, the world you grew up in praised performance, equated masculinity with stamina, and rarely made room for vulnerability. No one pulled you aside to say, "Hey, pleasure still matters, connection still matters, and you don't need a perfect erection to have either." I've had patients who went years believing they were somehow defective, when all they needed was a new understanding of how their body was evolving. Many never realized that orgasm and erection are not the same thing. You can still experience deep release, emotional intimacy, and physical satisfaction without the full response you had at 25. But because no one taught us this, so many men suffer in silence, believing they've lost something that was never gone, just changed. What matters now is not performance, but presence, not pressure, but permission. When you stop chasing what was and start exploring what is, you open the door to a new kind of intimacy, one rooted in patience, curiosity, and self-respect. That's why this first secret is so critical. I've seen lives change when men finally understand they are still whole, still worthy, and still capable of pleasure, even if the path looks different than it used to. And speaking of what most men were never told, let me share the second secret, one that dives even deeper. Because what if I told you that masturbation isn't just about sex, but about emotion, memory, and the quiet way we stay connected to ourselves? What you're about to hear might completely change how you see this act. If you're still watching and these truths are resonating with you, Type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still here and still listening. Now let's continue with the next secret, one that may shift the way you see yourself and your body in a whole new light. Secret 2. Masturbation isn't just sexual, it's emotional and neurological. Not long ago, I sat with a retired veteran in his late 70s. His name was Howard. He wasn't there because of a medical emergency. He came in because, in his words, "I just don't feel anything anymore." Not just sexually, but in general. At first, he thought his struggles were physical. But the more we talked, the more it became clear. His habits weren't about desire. They were about something deeper, quieter, and more emotional. He had been masturbating almost every night, not out of lust, but as a way to cope. He didn't even realize it had become his way of managing sadness, sleep problems, even loneliness. That moment changed how I saw him and how he saw himself. This is a truth I wish more older men knew sooner. Masturbation in your 60s and beyond isn't just about physical release. It's tied to your brain, your emotions, your nervous system. After orgasm, your body releases powerful chemicals: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These chemicals regulate sleep, reduce anxiety, and improve mood. For many men, especially those living alone, this simple act becomes a way to reclaim calm, connection, even control. But when it's done without awareness, it can slowly turn into something hollow. That's what happened to Howard. The ritual stayed, but the meaning faded. We were raised to be strong, to keep emotions buried, to believe that feeling deeply made us weak. So when the only time you truly let go is in private, during a moment of self-touch, that act becomes more than physical. It becomes survival. Yet most men never see it that way. They think they're just holding on to a youthful habit. They don't understand that their bodies are still reaching for peace, not just pleasure. 25. You simply need to remain in relationship with this part of yourself. Whether it's once a week or once a month, the intention is what matters. It's about reminding your body and your brain, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I still feel. When that connection fades, many men report feeling numb, not just below the waist, but in life. But when they begin re-engaging, slowly and without judgment, they start to feel more grounded, more energized, more like themselves. So yes, use it or lose it is real, but it's not a warning. It's an invitation to stay connected, even as your body changes. Because staying engaged doesn't mean clinging to youth. It means honoring vitality. And speaking of vitality, the next secret might be the most physically important one of all. It has to do with circulation, the quiet foundation of everything from erections to prostate health. And yet most men sabotage it without even realizing. Can actually cause harm at 65. One man I treated had developed a form of desensitization. He couldn't feel much during sex anymore. He thought it was just age, but when we examined his habits, it became clear he'd been using the same tight grip and high-speed method for decades. His body had adapted, but not in a good way. Repeated friction, poor posture, lack of arousal, and tight muscles. All of these can reduce sensitivity, disrupt blood flow, and even contribute to conditions like Peyronie's disease, a painful curvature of the penis. So what's the solution? Slow down. Use lubrication. Change positions. Focus on arousal, not just release. Include your whole body, not just one part. Breathe deeply. Engage your mind. Treat it as a form of self-care, not just stress relief. When men make these shifts, I often hear the same thing. It feels different. It feels better. I feel more alive. And that's no accident. When you align your habits with your changing body, you don't just preserve function, you deepen it. Which brings us to the final and perhaps most powerful secret of all. One that moves beyond the physical, the emotional, and the neurological, and into something far more vital. Secret 5. Your relationship with your body shapes how you age. Let me be clear. You are not broken. You are not past your prime. You are in a new chapter, one that can be richer, wiser, and more connected than anything before. But only if you stop judging yourself by outdated standards. Masturbation is not just about sex. It's about staying in dialogue with your body. It's about saying, I still matter. I still deserve pleasure, connection, and care. Too many men over 60 begin to withdraw from this part of life, not because they want to, but because they think they should. They believe the world no longer sees them as desirable, and so they stop seeing themselves that way too. But here's what I've seen in my decades of practice. The men who thrive are not the ones who perform like they used to. They're the ones who stay engaged, who remain curious, who listen to their bodies and respond with compassion, not criticism. This isn't just about sex. It's about aliveness, about claiming your right to feel, to touch, to connect, even if it looks different than it once did. So if no one ever told you that before, let me say it now. You still matter. Your pleasure still matters. Your relationship with your body still matters. And it always will.